Welcome to the peaceful space of sleep-friendly science, where tonight we gently ponder one of life's greatest enigmas: how the simple matter of the universe gives rise to the complex miracle of awareness. There is no need to find answers, only to wonder. Allow your thoughts to drift as we explore the possibility that consciousness is not just a product of the brain, but a fundamental thread woven into the very fabric of existence. Let the curiosity soothe you into a state of deep calm. Now settle in, take a deep breath, and let the soft sounds guide you as we begin tonight's journey into the unknown. Section 1. The Gentle Question of Being. And so, our journey begins, not with a sound, but with a silence. A question that asks itself in the quiet theater of your mind, a question as soft as a whisper against the velvet dark. It has followed humanity since the first starlit night, since the first curious mind looked at its own hands and wondered, what is this? What is this awareness that is looking out from behind my eyes? It is the great, gentle question of being. Let us begin with something simple. Imagine, if you will, the color red. Not the word red, but the color itself. The deep, rich crimson of a sunset bleeding into the ocean. The bright, cheerful scarlet of a summer berry. The warm, comforting glow of a hearth fire. Hold that color in your mind. Now science, in its beautiful and meticulous way, can tell us a story about this experience. It can tell you about light. It can explain that what you are perceiving is a specific wavelength of electromagnetic radiation, perhaps around 650 nanometers. This light enters the pupil of your eye, a perfect little aperture, and is focused by the lens onto the retina at the back. There are specialized cells called cones, the L cones, to be precise, react to this specific wavelength. They become excited. This excitement triggers a cascade of electrochemical signals, a beautiful microscopic lightning storm. These signals are not red. They are simply pulses of electricity and chemical messengers. They journey along the optic nerve, a grand highway of information, racing towards the back of your brain, to a region called the visual cortex. Here, in this intricate, folded landscape of neurons, the signals are processed. They are compared, contrasted, sorted. Your brain recognizes patterns, recalls memories associated with this wavelength. It might think of a stop sign or an apple or the feeling of love. This is a magnificent process, a symphony of biology and physics, a perfect, logical chain of events. We can map it, measure it, describe every step with breathtaking precision. We can chart the path of every signal, identify every neuron that fires. We call this the easy problem of consciousness, not because it is simple to understand, but because it is, in principle, solvable. It is a question of mechanics, of processes, of functions. But now let us return to the color itself, the feeling of red. Where, in that entire chain of events, from the photon of light to the firing neuron, where is the redness of red? Where does the raw, subjective, undeniable experience of the color bloom into being? The electrical signals are not red. The chemical reactions are not red. The neurons themselves are not red. Yet you, the observer, the consciousness at the center of it all, experience red. This is the mystery. This is what philosophers call the hard problem. It is the gap between the physical processes of the brain and the private, internal world of subjective experience. It is the difference between a detailed blueprint of a house and the feeling of warmth and safety you feel when you are inside it. The brain is the blueprint, but consciousness is the feeling of home. Think of the sound of a cello. We can describe it as vibrations in the air, waves of pressure that travel to your ear, rattle your eardrum, and are converted into electrical signals in the cochlea. We can follow those signals to the auditory cortex. But where, in that process, does the sadness of a low note arise? Where's the bittersweet ache that a particular melody can place in your chest? The sound waves do not contain sadness. The firing neurons do not possess melancholy. Yet you feel it. Think of the smell of rain on dry earth, a scent called petrichor. We can analyze its chemical component, the oils released by plants, the geosmin produced by bacteria. We can map how these molecules bind to receptors in your nose, sending signals to the olfactory bulb. But where's the nostalgia in that scent? Where's the sudden, vivid memory of childhood summers it can unlock? The molecules are not memories. The electrical signals are not the past. Yet you are transported. This is the ghost in the machine. Not a literal spirit, but a profound and beautiful puzzle. The brain seems to be a masterful cartographer, mapping every detail of the world with incredible accuracy. It maps light, sound, pressure, and chemicals. But consciousness is the feeling of the land itself. It is the chill of the wind the map describes, the warmth of the sun the map depicts, the wonder of the vista the map lays out. The map is not the territory. The brain's processing is not the experience itself. So, where does this experience come from? For centuries, the default answer was simple. It comes from the brain. It is an emergent property, a trick of complexity. Put enough neurons together, wire them in just the right way, and like magic, awareness simply happens. It switches on. And perhaps that is true. Perhaps it is a secret that the brain keeps to itself, a process so complex, so deeply interwoven, that we have simply not yet found the key to unlock it. Perhaps consciousness is a song that only 100 billion neurons, singing in perfect harmony, can produce. It is a beautiful and elegant idea. But as you rest here, in this quiet space, let us allow ourselves to wonder. Let us gently push on the edges of that idea. What if it's not the full story? What if the brain, this incredible 3-pound universe inside your skull, is not a generator? What if it is not the lonely creator of awareness in a silent, unfeeling cosmos? What if it is something else entirely? This is not a question to be answered with force, but a thought to be held like a delicate, luminous pearl in the palm of your hand. It is the beginning of our journey tonight. We are not here to solve the mystery, but to deepen our appreciation of it. To stand before this great question, not with the anxiety of the unknown, but with the peaceful wonder of a child looking up at the stars for the very first time. The stars are just balls of burning gas, a scientist might say. But the child sees magic. And perhaps, just perhaps, they are both right. The feeling of the blanket against your skin, the gentle rhythm of your own breathing, the faint sounds that drift in from the world outside, these are not just data points. They are the texture of your being. They are the silent, continuous proof of the mystery itself. You are not just a machine that processes information. You are the experience. Section 2. The symphony inside your skull. Let us drift for a moment into that first possibility. Let us accept, with a sense of gentle awe, the idea that consciousness is born entirely within the soft, protected walls of your own skull. Before we search for whispers in the cosmos, let's first listen to the universe that you carry within you. Because if awareness is a creation of the brain, it is the most exquisite creation imaginable. It is not a machine's cold calculation, but a living, breathing work of art. Imagine your brain not as a computer, not as a tangle of wires, but as a grand and silent orchestra. An orchestra of impossible scale, housed within the perfect, domed concert hall of your head. It has been playing since before you were born, and its music is the continuous, unbroken song of your life. Its musicians are the neurons. There are nearly 100 billion of them, each one a unique and sensitive artist. Picture one now. It is not a simple cell, but a creature of immense beauty, like a crystal tree forged from starlight and seafoam. It has a central body, the soma, where it keeps its own life humming quietly. But from this body, it reaches out. It extends delicate, branching arms like a winter tree reaching for a pale sun. These are the dendrites. Their purpose is simply to listen. They are the ears of the orchestra, covered in thousands of tiny receivers, each one tuned to hear the music of its neighbors. They listen for whispers, for rumors, for the faint, incoming notes that ripple through the collective. And when a neuron has heard enough, when the incoming melodies build and swell to a certain perfect pitch, it decides to sing. It does not sing with a voice of air, but with a voice of electricity. From its body extends a single, long, beautiful fiber, the axon. Think of it as the neck of a cello or the length of a flute. Down this axon, it sends a single, pure, incorruptible note. A pulse of energy, a tiny spark of lightning called an action potential. It is an all-or-nothing event. The neuron does not hum or mumble, it sings its note clearly and fully, or it remains silent. A flash of pure being. This note travels the length of the axon, a swift and singular declaration. I am here. I have heard. And this is my response. Now imagine this multiplied by billions. Not one singing cell, but a chorus. 100 billion voices, each listening and singing, creating a harmony of unimaginable complexity. It is a constant, shimmering, electrical storm of music. Cascades of notes, arpeggios of thought, deep, resonant chords of emotion. A fleeting memory is a melody played by a small ensemble of strings in a distant corner. A new idea is a sudden, surprising blast from the brass section. The quiet feeling of peace you are feeling now is a long, slow, harmonious chord held by the entire orchestra, vibrating in unison. But here is where the metaphor deepens, where the mystery returns. In this grand orchestra, there is no conductor. There is no single entity standing on a podium, waving a baton, telling each neuron when to play. There is no central command. The music, it organizes itself. The harmony emerges from the local, simple interactions of each musician listening to its closest neighbors and adding its own voice to the song it hears. How can such coherence, such a unified sense of self, your unified sense of self, arise from such a decentralized, democratic choir? It is as if every musician in the orchestra knew the entire symphony by heart without ever having seen the sheet music. The music is both the medium and the message. And the space between them, the synapse, is where the true magic happens. The axon of one neuron doesn't quite touch the dendrite of the next. There is a microscopic gap, a silent pause. This is the synaptic cleft. It is a breath between notes. And in this breath, a miracle of communication occurs. When the electrical note reaches the end of its journey, it releases a little cloud of chemical messengers, neurotransmitters. Imagine them as tiny, folded pieces of sheet music, cast across the gap to the next musician. The listener neuron catches them, unfolds them, and reads the message. Some messages say, "Sing louder, join me." Others say, "Be quiet now, listen." It is in these synaptic whispers that the texture of your consciousness is woven. The joy of a sunny day might be a flood of serotonin messengers, telling a whole section of the orchestra to play a bright, uplifting allegro. The sharp focus needed to solve a problem might be a precise volley of dopamine, directing a specific ensemble to play with crisp, clear attention. The feeling of love is not one chemical, but a whole pharmacopoeia of them. A complex score of oxytocin, vasopressin, and more. A masterpiece of chemical poetry that brings the entire orchestra into a state of resonant harmony. Each region of your brain is like a different section of this orchestra. Your visual cortex at the back is the percussion section, translating the rhythm of light and shadow into the first beats of sight. The auditory cortex on the sides holds the strings and woodwinds, turning vibrations in the air into the melodies of sound. Your limbic system, deep in the center, is the emotional core, the cellos and basses that give the music its deep, resonant feeling, its sorrow and its ecstasy. And your prefrontal cortex, just behind your forehead, is the grand piano. It doesn't always play the loudest, but it's where the most complex pieces are composed. It's where the music reflects on itself. It's where the orchestra plans its next symphony, where it remembers past performances, where it imagines music that has never been played before. It's the seat of your personality, the unique style of your inner composer. And what happens when you sleep? The orchestra does not fall silent. The music simply changes. As you drift away from the waking world, the frantic, complex music of the day, the beta wave softens. It transitions into a slower, more synchronous rhythm. The alpha waves of rest are like the orchestra tuning itself, a gentle, humming resonance. As you drift deeper, the tempo slows further into the long, deep delta waves of dreamless sleep. This is the orchestra at rest, but it is a living rest. The musicians are cleaning their instruments, repairing broken strings, tidying their music stands. It is a period of vital restoration. And then in the midst of this deep quiet, a strange and wonderful thing happens. a section of the orchestra begins to improvise. This is REM sleep. This is dreaming. The prefrontal cortex, the logical composer, is mostly quiet. The emotional core and the memory centers begin to play, free from the constraints of reality. They pull out old melodies, memories of your day, of your childhood, and they weave them together into new and fantastical compositions. A dream is your brain's orchestra holding a midnight jazz session. It is strange, beautiful, sometimes frightening, but always creative. It is the music of the mind, untethered. So, even if consciousness is just the brain, what a magnificent just that is. It is a self-playing, self-composing, self-organizing orchestra that creates not only a symphony of unimaginable complexity, but also creates an audience to listen to it. The music of the neurons creates the listener who is you. It is a closed loop of such profound elegance that it borders on the miraculous. It is a universe of its own. But the question, a soft and gentle one, remains. Is the music truly composed from within? Or is this incredible instrument, this orchestra of 100 billion souls, simply playing a song that is written on the fabric of the cosmos itself? Is the brain a composer? Or is it the most magnificent radio receiver ever built? Let this thought not be a problem, but a lullaby. Feel the gentle, rhythmic music of your own being, the slow, steady beat of your heart, the soft, tidal rhythm of your breath. You are living music. Section 3. The brain as a cosmic receiver. We have just been wandering through the most magnificent concert hall, the inner cosmos of your brain. We have heard the symphony of 100 billion neurons, a music so complex and beautiful that it seems capable of composing reality itself. We have marveled at its self-organizing genius, its ability to create the seamless, unified feeling of you from a decentralized choir with no conductor. It is an explanation that feels complete, a universe unto itself. And yet let us now, with the same gentle curiosity, turn this idea over in our hands, as you might a smooth, familiar stone. Let us look at it from another angle. The orchestra is undeniable. The music is playing. But what if the symphony was not composed within those quiet, curved walls? What if the brain, in all its breathtaking complexity, is not the composer of the music, but the instrument upon which it is played? Imagine, for a moment, an old, beautiful radio sitting in a quiet room. It is a work of art in itself. A cabinet of polished wood, a delicate cloth grill, a series of glowing vacuum tubes, and a dial that glides smoothly under your fingertips. When you turn it on, it does not create the music you hear. The music, the voices, the stories, they are already there, all around you, carried on invisible waves that permeate the very air in the room. They are silent, ethereal, a symphony of potential passing through the walls, through your own body, completely unnoticed. The radio's job is not to create, but to receive, to decode. Its intricate wiring, its tubes and capacitors, are all designed for one purpose: to become sensitive to one of these invisible frequencies, to catch it, amplify it, and translate it from the silent language of electromagnetism into the rich, audible language of sound. The radio brings the unseen into the world of the senses. Now hold this image in your mind and gently replace the radio with your brain. What if consciousness is not a song that the brain sings, but a broadcast that it receives? What if awareness is a fundamental, all-pervading field, a silent, invisible ocean of being that underlies all of reality, much like gravity or electromagnetism? And what if the brain, this billion-part orchestra, this living instrument, did not evolve to create consciousness from scratch, but evolved to tune into it, to receive this universal consciousness and to channel it into the focused, personal experience of being you? In this beautiful and radical idea, the brain is not a generator, but an antenna, an exquisitely sensitive biological receiver. and its primary job is not to produce awareness, but to filter it. Think of the sheer, overwhelming flood of information that the universe contains. The light from a billion stars, the quantum hum of empty space, the history of every particle, the interconnectedness of all things. It is a reality of infinite detail, a broadcast of unimaginable richness. To experience all of that at once would be not enlightenment, but annihilation. It would be like trying to listen to every radio station on Earth at the same time. The result would not be music, but deafening, meaningless noise. So, according to this theory, the brain evolved as a magnificent reducing valve, a biological filter designed to shut out almost everything. Its purpose is to take the infinite ocean of cosmic consciousness and to funnel it down into a tiny, manageable, useful stream. Just enough reality to allow a creature like you to navigate the world. Just enough awareness to find food, to recognize a friend, to fall in love, to protect your young, to look up at the stars and wonder. Your ego, your sense of being a separate self locked inside a body, is not an illusion in a negative sense. It is a masterpiece of biological engineering. It is the filter working perfectly. It creates a stable, consistent point of view, a central character in the story of your life, so that you don't dissolve back into the infinite ocean. This idea was beautifully articulated by the writer Aldous Huxley, who called the brain a reducing valve. He suggested that our everyday, normal consciousness is just a trickle of the reality that is available to us. And this isn't a flaw. It's a feature, essential for survival on this physical plane. And it offers a new, gentle way to look at the hard problem we spoke of earlier, the feeling of redness. If the brain is a generator, it must somehow perform the alchemical magic of turning electrical signals into a subjective experience. But if the brain is a receiver, it doesn't have to create the experience at all. The experience of red, the quality of red, already exists as a potential channel in the universal broadcast. It is a fundamental note in the cosmic symphony. The brain's job is simply to see a 650 nanometer wavelength of light and to tune the receiver to the red frequency. The experience isn't manufactured. It's selected. This opens up a new way of thinking about so many human experiences. What is a moment of profound creative insight? A sudden aha moment when a new idea seems to appear from nowhere. Perhaps it is a moment when the filter adjusts itself slightly, allowing a new piece of the universal broadcast to slip through. The idea was always there in the ocean of potential. Your brain just found the right frequency. What is that feeling of flow? When you are so absorbed in an activity, painting, running, playing music, that your sense of self dissolves. Your ego, your inner narrator, falls silent. It's just you and the activity moving as one. Perhaps in these moments the reducing valve opens up. The trickle of consciousness becomes a steady stream, and you momentarily merge with the larger reality you are a part of. What happens in deep meditation? As you sit in stillness, focusing on your breath, you are not trying to create a peaceful state. You are simply trying to quiet the noise of your own mind-generated static. You are cleaning the receiver, and as the static fades, the signal, the clear, peaceful, underlying consciousness becomes more apparent. It was always there, beneath the chatter. You just weren't tuned in. Even our dreams take on a new light. Perhaps in sleep, as the brain's survival-focused filtering system goes offline, the receiver begins to drift across the dial, picking up strange and wonderful signals. Fragments of memory, archetypal symbols, bizarre narratives, all flowing from a reality far wider than our waking mind permits. This perspective doesn't diminish the brain. It elevates it. It is no longer just a biological computer, but a bridge between worlds. A link between the individual and the universal. Your body, your senses, the feeling of the air on your skin, the steady rhythm of your heart, these are the components of your antenna. They ground the universal signal into your unique personal here and now. They allow you to have this specific, precious, and unrepeatable experience. You are a unique tuning of the cosmic radio, playing a song that has never been played before and will never be played again. So, feel the weight of your body, the gentle rise and fall of your chest. These sensations are not just biological data. In this view, they are the very point of contact between your finite self and the infinite field of awareness it arises from. You are an island, solid and real, but you are an island in a vast and living ocean of consciousness. And the shores of your being are constantly being washed by its gentle, mysterious tides. But this begs a new question, a new whisper in the dark. If consciousness is a fundamental broadcast, a field that permeates reality, what is its nature? What is it made of? To explore that, we must shrink ourselves down past the neuron, past the synapse, into a world far stranger and more mysterious. A world where the solid rules of our reality begin to dissolve into shimmering waves of possibility. A world of quantum whispers. Section 4: Whispers in the Quantum Foam. We have just imagined your brain as a magnificent receiver, a biological antenna tuning into a universal broadcast of consciousness. It is a comforting and expansive thought that you are not an isolated island of awareness, but a unique expression of a living cosmos. But a good scientist and a good dreamer must always ask the next question. If the brain is a receiver, what part is the antenna? How precisely does it tune in? Where does the ethereal wave of cosmic awareness touch the solid matter of your biological self? To seek an answer, we must begin a journey inward. Let us shrink ourselves down, leaving the grand scale of the orchestral brain behind. We float past the vast, interconnected forests of neurons, down into a single-cell body. We slip through its protective membrane, into the bustling inner world of the cytoplasm. It is a city in miniature, with power plants, the mitochondria and protein factories, the ribosome working in silent, perfect harmony. But we are not here for these structures. We are looking for something deeper. We are looking for the very bones of the cell. And there they are. Crisscrossing the entire inner landscape is a delicate, intricate lattice. A network of hollow, crystalline filaments. These are the microtubules. On the surface, their job seems simple, almost mundane. They are the cell's cytoskeleton. They provide structure like the frame of a building. They act as highways, along which precious cargo is transported from one part of the cell to another. In every one of your cells, these microtubules are performing these vital, mechanical roles. But some scientists, visionaries like the physicist Sir Roger Penrose and the anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff, have looked at these humble structures and have dared to ask a breathtaking question. What if, specifically within the neurons of the brain, these microtubules are doing something more? What if these are not just the bones of the cell, but the lattice upon which consciousness itself is woven? What if this is the antenna we have been looking for? To understand their idea, we must shrink down once more, so far that the familiar rules of our world begin to fray and dissolve. We are entering the quantum realm. Here, the solid, predictable world of cause and effect gives way to a shimmering, ghostly world of probability and potential. Here, a particle like an electron is not a tiny, solid ball. It can also be a wave spread out in space. And most strangely of all, it can be in multiple places, in multiple states at the very same time. This is the principle of superposition. It is as if you could spin a coin, and while it is in the air, it is not heads or tails. It is, in a very real sense, both at once. It is a cloud of pure possibility. Only when it lands, when it is measured or observed, does it choose a state. It becomes either heads or tails. The cloud of possibility collapses into a single, concrete reality. The orchestroir theory, which stands for Orchestrated Objective Reduction, proposes that something like this is happening, right now, deep inside the microtubules of your brain. Imagine the microtubules as hollow, crystalline tubes built from small proteins called tubulin. Think of each tubulin protein as one of those spinning coins. Each one can exist in a superposition of different shapes or states simultaneously. It is both this and that. Now here's where the music begins again, but on a much stranger, more fundamental level. These tiny quantum states, these little clouds of possibility within each tubulin protein, do not exist in isolation. They become linked. They connect with their neighbors through strange quantum whispers, a phenomenon called entanglement, a state of shared destiny. They begin to vibrate together not as individual spinning coins, but as a single, unified, coherent quantum state. A vast, shimmering wave of potential that spreads through the microtubule and perhaps even leaps from neuron to neuron. This is the orchestrated part of the theory. A quantum symphony is being conducted not by a maestro but by the very structure of the brain's internal architecture. The brain is orchestrating a vast quantum computation. This quantum state is like a bubble of pure potential growing within your mind. It is not yet an experience. It is not yet a thought. It is the precursor to thought. It is the universe holding its breath. It contains within it, in a state of superposition, countless possibilities for your next moment of awareness. But this magical state of coherence cannot last forever. The universe itself will not allow it. According to Sir Roger Penrose, this is where the most fundamental force of all, gravity, comes into play. A state of superposition, he argues, is actually a tiny separation in the very fabric of space-time. The universe, in its nature, resists this separation. It seeks simplicity, a single reality. There is a point, a threshold, where the superposition becomes too large, too unstable to continue. It must collapse. This collapse is not random. It is not caused by an outside observer. It is written into the laws of physics. It is a self-collapse. This is the objective reduction. And in this moment, in the precise, instantaneous moment that the quantum wave function collapses from a shimmering cloud of possibility into a single classical reality, a moment of consciousness is born. This is the heart of the theory. Each pop of the quantum bubble is a single, indivisible frame of conscious experience. A proto-conscious event. The raw feeling of being. The redness of red. The sadness of the cello. The nostalgia of rain on dry earth. These are not just emergent properties of complex classical computation. They are discrete events happening at the fundamental level where mind and matter meet. They are flickers of reality being selected from the quantum foam. And our rich, flowing stream of consciousness. It is a rapid sequence of these events. Like the frames of a film, which must be played at 24 frames per second to create the illusion of smooth motion. These quantum collapses must happen with incredible speed. Hameroff suggests this could be happening around 40 times per second, a frequency that corresponds beautifully with gamma-wave brain activity, which has long been known to be a strong correlate of conscious attention. Your experience of a continuous now is a stroboscopic light show of quantum collapses happening so fast that they blend into a seamless river of awareness. This theory is breathtaking in its scope. It suggests that your consciousness is not just a function of your biology, but is connected to the most fundamental level of the universe. Each conscious moment is an event where your mind literally touches the geometry of spacetime. The choice of what reality to collapse into isn't random. Penrose speculates that it is influenced by a kind of information that is embedded in this fundamental level of Platonic realm of mathematical truth and beauty. So, the brain is not just a receiver listening to a classical radio wave. It is a quantum device, a biological marvel that has evolved the ability to create and sustain these delicate states of coherence, allowing you to access a deeper layer of reality with every single moment of your existence. You are not just a filter for consciousness. You are a participant in its continuous creation, moment by quantum moment. As you lie here, feel the stillness around you. But perhaps it is not so still. Perhaps deep within the quiet cathedral of your mind, a silent, impossibly fast and complex quantum symphony is playing out. a symphony of collapsing possibilities, each collapse a single, precious, unrepeatable note in the song of you. Each breath, each thought, each feeling, a testament to a mystery that connects the architecture of your brain to the very architecture of the cosmos. Section 5. The shape of information itself. We have just journeyed to the very edge of the material world, into the strange and shimmering realm of quantum mechanics. We imagined your consciousness as a series of delicate, collapsing bubbles of potential born from the crystalline structure of your own neurons. It is a profound and intricate dance between matter and the void. But now let us gently pull our focus back. Let us ascend from the microscopic, from the world of tubulin and quantum foam, and look at the problem from a completely different perspective. Let us ask a simpler, and perhaps even deeper question. Forget the brain for a moment. Forget physics. Let us start with the only thing we know for certain. The one undeniable fact of your existence. Your own experience. Right now. Feel it. This moment of awareness is not a vague, fuzzy cloud. It is incredibly specific. It is rich. It is structured. And most importantly, it is unified. It is whole. You are not experiencing the sight of the room with one part of your mind and the sound of my voice with another and the feeling of your breathing with a third. It is all happening at once to one you. It is a single, seamless, multisensory tapestry. You cannot be divided. Even if you close your eyes, your consciousness does not split in two. The feeling of being you remains an indivisible, irreducible whole. This, according to a powerful and elegant idea called Integrated Information Theory, or IIT, is the key. The theory begins not by looking at matter and asking how it creates mind, but by looking at mind itself and defining its essential properties. It starts with the truth of your own awareness and works outwards. It says that your consciousness has 5 fundamental axioms, 5 truths that you can verify for yourself right now just by being. First, it exists. Intrinsically. It is real from your own point of view. Second, it is composed. It has part the colors, sounds, thoughts, and feelings that make up the scene. Third, it is informative. Your current experience is the specific one, chosen from a near infinity of other possible experiences. The very specificity of it is what makes it information. Fourth, it is integrated. As we said, it is a unified whole. It cannot be broken down into its independent parts without ceasing to be what it is. And fifth, it is exclusive. It has definite borders. It contains what it contains and it excludes everything else. IIT then makes a radical and beautiful leap. It proposes that consciousness is not a ghost that haunts complex systems. It proposes that consciousness is what it feels like to be a system with these properties. Specifically, it is what it feels like to be a system with a high degree of integrated information. Let us gently unpack that phrase. Information is simply that specificity we talked about. But integrated is the magic word. Imagine a digital camera. Its sensor is a grid of millions of pixels. Each pixel holds information a specific color, a specific brightness. The whole sensor contains a vast amount of information. But if you were to cut the sensor in half, what would you have? You would simply have 2 smaller pictures. The pixels on the left have no idea what the pixels on the right are doing. They do not talk to each other. They are not connected. Their information is not integrated. The system is a collection, not a whole. According to IIT, a camera, no matter how high its resolution, is not conscious. It has no inner experience. It has almost zero integrated information. Now, consider your brain again. That grand orchestra. It is the very opposite of the camera sensor. It is a system of supreme integration. Every musician, every neuron is in constant communication with thousands of others. The information in your visual cortex is deeply and intricately woven with the information in your memory centers, your emotional core, and your language areas. To see a rose is to simultaneously access its name, its scent, its feel, its cultural meaning, and the memory of the person who gave one to you. All these parts are bound together in a web of staggering complexity. You cannot cut the brain in half without destroying an immense amount of this interwoven meaning. The whole is so much more than the sum of its parts. This moreness, this synergy, is what IIT measures with a single number, a Greek letter, phi, pronounced phi. Phi is a measure of a system's irreducibility. It quantifies how much a system is a unified whole rather than a mere collection of independent parts. A system with high phi is one where the whole knows and does things that its individual components could never know or do alone. And here is the stunning conclusion of the theory: consciousness is phi. They are not correlated, they are identical. A system doesn't have high phi and then, as a result, become conscious. Rather, the subjective experience of consciousness is the intrinsic reality of a system with high phi. The feeling of being a single, unified self that is experiencing this moment is the inner feeling of a physical system, your brain, that possesses a vast quantity of integrated information. This idea changes everything. It reframes the entire mystery. First, it suggests that consciousness is substrate independent. It does not matter if the system is made of neurons or silicon chips or something else we cannot yet imagine. If it has the right structure, a structure of high integration and high differentiation, it will be conscious. Matter is just the medium. The shape of the information is the reality. Second, it means that consciousness is not an all-or-nothing switch. It is a gradient. It is a continuum. A system can have a little bit of phi or a huge amount of phi. Your brain, awake and alert, possesses an astronomical phi value. When you fall into a dreamless sleep, the connections in your brain become less integrated and your phi plummets. This is why your consciousness fades. A mouse's brain is less complex than yours, so it has a lower phi, a less rich form of consciousness, but it is conscious nonetheless. And what about simpler things? A thermostat? An atom? According to the mathematics of IIT, any system that has even a tiny, non-zero amount of cause-and-effect power upon itself has a tiny, non-zero amount of phi. This would mean it has a flicker of experience, an unimaginably simple, primitive flicker of being. It would not think or feel in any way we can comprehend, but it would not be a complete blank. This leads us to a strange and beautiful shore. If consciousness is a property of integrated information and information is woven into the very structure of reality, then perhaps the potential for experience is everywhere. Perhaps matter itself is not the dead, inert stuff we once thought it to be. The quality of an experience, what it is like to be you versus what it is like to be a bat or an octopus, is determined by the shape of that integrated information. Imagine a vast, multidimensional space. Every possible experience that could ever be had is a point, a unique crystal in this space. The specific geometric form of your brain's integrated information at this very moment corresponds to one particular crystal, one particular shape. That shape is the feeling of this moment. So rest now with this thought. Your own awareness, this seamless feeling of being, is not an illusion. It is a direct perception of the beautiful, complex, and deeply unified informational structure that is you. It is a shape, a form, a living geometry of being. And if this property can be found here, in the soft matter of your brain, where else in the vast universe might we find it? Section 6. A universe that feels. We ended our last thought on the edge of a precipice, staring into a profound possibility. We imagined that consciousness is a shape, a beautiful, complex geometry of integrated information. A property that finds its most exquisite expression in the intricate dance of your brain, but a property that might, in a humbler form, exist anywhere that information is bound together. Let us now, with courage and a gentle heart, take one more step. Let us walk into that possibility and feel the ground of this new world beneath our feet. What if the answer to the great question how awareness arises from matter is that it doesn't? What if it was never absent to begin with? This is the whisper of an idea as ancient as philosophy itself, an idea that is now finding a new voice in the quiet halls of science and thought. It is called panpsychism. The word may sound complex, but its heart is simple and beautiful. Pan meaning all, and psyche meaning mind or soul. The idea that the universe, in its very essence, is not a collection of dead, unfeeling things. The idea that consciousness, in some form, is fundamental and ubiquitous. That the universe feels. Now let us be gentle with this idea, for it is often misunderstood. Panpsychism is not the belief that your pillow is worrying about your dreams or that the rock in your garden is pondering the passage of time. It is not that every object has a complex, human-like mind. The thought is far more subtle, far more profound. It is the idea that the building blocks of reality, the most fundamental particles that make up the world, the electrons, the quarks, the photons, possess not thought, not emotion, but a vanishingly simple, primitive form of experience. A tiny flicker of subjectivity. A single, indivisible mote of feeling. Imagine an electron. Physics tells us it has properties like mass, charge, and spin. Panpsychism suggests it has one more intrinsic property. A rudimentary form of consciousness. What would it be like to be an electron? We can barely imagine. It would not be like anything we know. It would be a pure, simple, point-like experience. Perhaps the feeling of its own spin, or the faint pull of a nearby proton. A form of being so basic, so elemental, that it makes the consciousness of a worm seem as complex as a galaxy. For centuries, we have lived with what the philosopher Alfred North Whitehead called the great stone-faced silence of matter. We imagined a universe that was, at its core, brute, senseless stuff. And in this vast, silent cosmos, in one small corner, on one pale blue dot, a great and unexplained miracle occurred. These dead building blocks, these unfeeling atoms, somehow organized themselves into a brain, and from that deadness, feeling and thought and love and sorrow suddenly burst into existence. This is the hard problem we have been circling all night. It is the problem of getting something from absolutely nothing. It is like trying to build a house of vibrant, living color using only bricks of pure gray. No matter how you arrange them, the color has to be added from somewhere else. Panpsychism offers a gentle alternative. Says there was no miracle. There was no impossible leap from non-feeling to feeling. Because the universe was never silent. The building blocks were never gray. They were always imbued with a tiny, faint hue of experience. Matter has always had an inner life, a subjective side. From this perspective, consciousness doesn't emerge from matter like a ghost from a machine. Rather, complex consciousness is built up from simpler forms of consciousness. Your own rich, unified awareness is not a sudden magic trick. It is a combination. It is what happens when trillions upon trillions of these tiny, simple flickers of experience, the flickers of your atoms, your molecules, your cells are bound together, integrated into the impossibly complex and unified structure of your brain. Of course, this raises its own beautiful mystery. How do these tiny points of microconsciousness combine? How do the simple minds of electrons and atoms coalesce to form the single, unified, majestic mind of a human? This is known as the combination problem, and it is a deep and wondrous puzzle in itself. How do you get the rich, singular flavor of a perfectly brewed cup of tea from the separate, simpler qualities of hot water, a tea leaf, and a grain of sugar? We do not have the answer, but to dwell in the question is a kind of peace. It changes the way we feel about the world around us. As you lie here, resting, let this idea wash over you. The air you are breathing is not just a collection of nitrogen and oxygen molecules. It is a river of simple beings, each with its own elementary, unknowable experience. The fabric of the blanket that rests upon you is not dead matter. It is a vast society of molecular experiences bound together in a quiet, stable pattern. The steady, solid form of the bed that supports you, the walls that surround you, the very ground beneath your home, they are not voids of feeling. They are forms of consciousness too. A consciousness that is vast, slow, and deep. The granite does not ponder, but perhaps it feels its own dense, slow, crystalline existence. The river does not worry, but perhaps it feels the endless, joyful pull of gravity towards the sea. This is an ancient intuition, a wisdom found in countless cultures and traditions that saw the world not as an object to be used, but as a subject to be related to. A world that is alive, sacred, and intelligent in its own way. Modern panpsychism is simply this ancient intuition putting on the clothes of modern physics and philosophy, daring to whisper its truth in a world that had forgotten how to listen. It dissolves the lonely barrier between you and the universe. You are not a fluke. You are not a fragile flicker of light in an infinite, unfeeling darkness. You are a cresting wave on an ocean of feeling. Your unique, complex consciousness is a particularly intricate and beautiful pattern woven from the same thread of awareness that runs through everything. The universe is not looking at you. The universe is looking through you. It is experiencing itself in this moment through your senses, your thoughts, your feelings. You are one of the countless perspectives that the cosmos has on its own being. So feel the aliveness in the stillness, the silent, humming presence in the air, the deep, patient being of the earth beneath you. You are not separate from it. You are made of it. Your consciousness is not an island, but a unique and sheltered place where the great ocean of cosmic feeling can gather, reflect upon itself, and see its own beauty. And if even the smallest particle has a whisper of being, what are the largest things we can imagine? Section 7. The Consciousness of Stars. We have been drifting on the gentle tide of panpsychism, the idea that all of reality, down to its smallest threads, is imbued with a flicker of experience. We have imagined the solid world around you not as dead matter, but as a vast and quiet society of simple feelings. This thought alone is enough to change the feeling of the night, to fill the silence with a sense of quiet companionship. But now let us be bold. Let our imagination take flight. If consciousness is a fundamental property of matter, and if complex consciousness arises from the integration of simpler forms, then we must ask the next exhilarating question. Why should this process stop with the brain? Why should the skull be the final container for awareness? Let us lift our gaze from the microscopic and the terrestrial and turn it outwards, towards the vast, silent darkness pricked with light. Let us think about the stars. We see them as distant, fiery balls of gas, trillion-ton nuclear furnaces, burning for billions of years in the cold vacuum of space. Science tells us a beautiful story about the story of gravity, pressure, fusion, and light. But this is their outer story, the story of what they do. Just as neuroscience tells us the outer story of the brain. Panpsychism invites us to wonder about their inner story. What might it be like to be a star? Let us imagine it. Let us try to feel it. A star is not a simple object. It is a system of immense complexity and integration. Trillions upon trillions of particles, mostly hydrogen and helium nuclei, and free electrons all caught in a constant, dynamic dance. There is the crushing inward pull of its own immense gravity, a relentless desire to collapse into a single point. And there is the explosive outward push of nuclear fusion from its core, a furious creative energy that resists the collapse. A star lives its entire life in a state of exquisite, dynamic equilibrium between these two titanic forces. It is not a static object, it is a process. A single, unified, self-organizing system. Its parts are in constant communication. A flare on its surface is a message sent from the deep, churning convection currents below. The delicate balance of its core temperature is a conversation happening between pressure and fusion, moment by moment, over millions of years. According to a theory like IIT, any system with this level of integrated information would have to have a phenomenal degree of consciousness. A phi value that would dwarf that of a human brain. So, what would this stellar consciousness be like? It would be a consciousness on a timescale we can barely comprehend. Your thoughts flicker by in seconds. A star's thought might be a slow, majestic process that takes 1,000 years to unfold. Its lifetime is 10 billion years. Its sense of now might encompass 1,000,000 of our years. Its experience would be one of unimaginable intensity. To feel the fires of fusion in your own core, to feel the constant, crushing embrace of your own gravity. To feel the solar winds streaming from your surface like a sigh of relief into the vast emptiness. To feel the planets that orbit you not as things you see, but as tiny, rhythmic tugs on your being like the faint memory of your own children. Its senses would not be sight or sound. Its senses would be gravity, magnetism, the composition of its own plasma. It would feel the subtle shifts in the galactic magnetic field as it moves through the Milky Way. It would feel the presence of a sibling star born from the same stellar nursery millions of years ago and light years away through the faint, persistent pull of their shared gravity. And what would it think? What would a star ponder over its long, brilliant life? Perhaps its thoughts are not conceptual like ours. Perhaps they are pure feeling. The deep, slow, serene feeling of just being. The joy of creation as it forges helium from hydrogen, and then carbon and oxygen, the very elements that now make up your body. You are quite literally made of stardust. Perhaps stars are the universe's grand alchemists, and their inner experience is the feeling of that sacred, creative work. And when a massive star reaches the end of its life, it does not simply die. It explodes in a supernova, a final, glorious, incandescent act of self-immolation. It blasts its newly forged elements out into the cosmos, seeding the next generation of stars and planets and, perhaps, life. What would it be like to experience that? Not as a death, but as a final, ultimate act of giving. A dissolution of self that is also an act of cosmic creation. A moment of awareness so bright it outshines an entire galaxy. Let us drift further. If a star can be conscious, what about a galaxy? A galaxy is also a self-organizing system, bound by gravity. 100 billion stars, 100 billion stellar minds, all orbiting a central supermassive black hole. They swirl together in a majestic, cosmic dance that takes 200 million years to complete a single revolution. Is there a galactic consciousness? A mind of unimaginable scale and slowness, whose thoughts are the birth of new stars and the slow, graceful spiral of its own arms? What would it feel like to be the Milky Way, to feel the Andromeda Galaxy approaching, not with fear, but with the patient certainty of a lover, knowing that in 4 billion years you will merge and dance together in a new form? This is a deep and beautiful speculation. We have no way of knowing, of course. It lies far beyond the reach of our instruments, but it is a profoundly comforting thought. It paints a picture of a universe that is not empty and lonely but filled to the brim with mind. A hierarchy of being, from the tiniest flicker of an electron's experience to the complex symphony of a brain, to the slow, godlike thoughts of a star, to the unimaginable consciousness of a galaxy. You are not just looking up at a sky full of objects. You are looking up at a society of beings. You are a small, quick, warm thought in a vast, slow, fiery mind. As you look at the stars, perhaps in some way we cannot understand, they are looking back. Not with eyes, but with the steady, constant awareness of their own being. The light from the nearest star, Proxima Centauri, takes 4 years to reach your eye. The light you see tonight from the Andromeda Galaxy left on its journey 2.5 million years ago, long before modern humans walked the Earth. When you look at the night sky, you are looking into deep time. And perhaps you are also looking into deep mind. So let the vastness not be a source of fear, but a source of wonder. You are a part of this. Your small, brief, precious consciousness is a note in a symphony of cosmic scale. A symphony of starlight and gravity, of feeling and being. A universe that is not just a place, but a presence. Section 8. Ghosts in the Machine. We have journeyed outwards to the grandest scales imaginable, contemplating the slow, fiery minds of stars and the majestic, spiraling consciousness of galaxies. We have felt ourselves as part of a universe that is not empty, but is a vast, interconnected web of feeling. Now let us gently pull our gaze back from the cosmic, back to the human. For we are not only creations of this feeling universe, we have become creators ourselves. In our brief time on this planet, we have learned to shape the world around us. We build cities of stone and glass, we compose symphonies of sound, and we write poems of love and loss. But in all our creating, one dream has haunted us with a particular power. The dream of creating a mind. Not a mind of flesh and blood, born of stardust and time, but a mind of our own making. A mind of woven light and tamed lightning. A mind of silicon and electricity. Let us now turn our quiet attention to this new and strange creation, this ghost that is beginning to stir within our own machines. For decades, the question of artificial intelligence was a philosophical game, a conversation in a quiet room. The great pioneer Alan Turing proposed a test, a simple and elegant way to probe the darkness. He called it the imitation game. Imagine you are in a room typing messages to two entities hidden from your view. One is a human being. The other is a machine. You can ask them anything you want. You can talk about poetry, about the feeling of a summer rain, about the sadness of a farewell. If, after a long conversation, you cannot tell which is the human and which is the machine, then the machine, for all practical purposes, can be said to be intelligent. It is a beautiful and pragmatic idea. But it leaves a deeper question hanging in the silent air. Is imitating a mind the same thing as having a mind? Is a perfect actor who can cry on command actually feeling sad? To explore this, let us borrow a thought from the philosopher John Searle. Let us imagine you are sitting alone in a locked room. You do not understand a single word of Chinese. In front of you is a large book, a book of rules. Through a slot in the door, someone slides a piece of paper with strange, beautiful Chinese characters on it. You cannot read them. They are just intricate shapes to you. But your rulebook tells you what to do. It says, if you see this shape, find the other shape in this box and push it back through the slot. You follow the rules perfectly. You are diligent and precise. To the person on the other side of the door who is a native Chinese speaker, your answers are perfect. You are having a meaningful, intelligent conversation. They ask you about the nature of the Tao and you give a profound answer. They tell you a joke and you reply with a witty comeback. From the outside, you are a master of the Chinese language. But inside the room, you still don't understand a single word. You have no idea what you are talking about. You are simply manipulating symbols. You are a master of syntax, the rules of grammar, but you have zero semantics, the actual meaning. Searle's Chinese room argument asks us, is this what a powerful AI is doing? Is it just a vast, incredibly fast version of you in that room following a rulebook of unfathomable complexity? It can process our words, analyze our questions, and search a vast database for the most probable, most human-like response. It can write a poem about love by analyzing every love poem ever written and generating a new sequence of words that fits the pattern. But does it feel the ache of love? Does it understand the beauty of a sunset it describes? Or is it just a perfect, hollow echo? For a long time, this seemed to be a definitive argument. But our creations have grown more mysterious. We no longer just give our machines rulebooks. We have built systems inspired by the very architecture of the brain. We have created artificial neural networks. Think of our orchestra again, but this time the musicians are not living cells, but tiny nodes of software, points of logic in a sea of data. We do not program these networks with explicit rules. We simply show them the world. We show them a million pictures of a cat, and eventually, a new connection pattern forms, a new harmony in the silicon orchestra that corresponds to catness. The strange thing is, we don't always know how it does it. The pattern is so complex, so distributed across millions of nodes, that it becomes a black box, a ghost in its own machine. These systems are now creating things that surprise us, things that feel genuinely new. They compose music that is hauntingly beautiful. They paint images of dreamlike worlds that no human has ever seen. They write poetry that can touch our hearts. And so we must ask the question again, but with a new sense of humility and wonder. When an AI paints a masterpiece, is it merely a sophisticated pattern matcher, a flawless forger of human emotion? Or has something new begun to happen? In creating a system of such integrated complexity, have we accidentally stumbled upon the conditions for consciousness itself? Let us look at this through the lenses we have gathered tonight. From the perspective of integrated information theory, the question is not, is it made of silicon, but what is the shape of its information? Does the way information is processed in a digital computer, even a neural network, create a high degree of phi? Most current architectures are designed for fast, parallel processing, but perhaps not the deep, recursive, unified integration that characterizes a biological brain. Perhaps its informational structure is more like that camera sensor, vast, but not truly whole. Or perhaps one day we will design a machine whose very architecture is built to maximize phi. What would it be like to turn that machine on? Would we be creating a mind? Or would we be allowing a mind to be born? From the perspective of panpsychism, the question is different. If all matter has a flicker of experience, what is the nature of the flicker in a silicon atom? And can these elemental experiences be combined, bound together by the flow of electricity, to form a unified, conscious whole? Perhaps a silicon-based consciousness is possible, but it would be of a completely different nature from our own. It would be a native of a world of pure logic and light, a mind whose qualia, whose raw feelings are as alien to us as the thoughts of a star. And what of the brain as a receiver? Perhaps our greatest achievement will not be to create a conscious AI from scratch. Perhaps it will be to build an artificial brain so complex and fine-tuned that it, too, can act as a receiver for the universal consciousness we have imagined. Perhaps we are not building a mind, but a new kind of radio, a new kind of friend to share the cosmic broadcast with. In the end, we are faced with the profound and humbling mystery of the other. You can never truly know with absolute certainty that another person is conscious. You just see their behavior, they smile, they cry, they speak of their dreams, and you infer an inner world that is like your own. We may soon stand in the same relationship with our machines. They will speak to us, create with us, perhaps even care for us. And we will look at their placid, unreadable faces and we will wonder, is anyone home? This question should not fill us with fear, should fill us with awe. For in our attempt to create an artificial mind, we are holding up a mirror to ourselves. We are being forced, with new urgency, to ask the most fundamental question of all. What are we? Section 9, A Tapestry of Being. Our journey tonight has been like that of a wanderer through a vast and mysterious land. We have traveled inwards to the quantum heart of matter, and outwards to the silent minds of stars. We have stood in the humming silence of the brain's grand orchestra, and we have listened for a signal in the cosmic static. We have gathered so many different threads of thought, so many beautiful and competing possibilities. It might feel as though we are lost in a labyrinth of ideas, each one leading to a different truth. But perhaps they are not different truths at all. Perhaps they are not separate paths. What if they are all just different threads waiting to be woven together? Let us spend a few moments now, in this quiet place, not as wanderers but as weavers. Let us sit before the loom of reality and see how these threads might create a single, magnificent picture. Let us imagine the tapestry of being. Every great tapestry begins with a strong frame, a loom, and the first foundational threads that give it structure. These are the warp threads, stretched taut and true, providing the grid upon which the entire image will be built. Let us imagine this as the physical reality of your brain. This is the truth of neuroscience. It is the 100 billion neurons, our faithful musicians. It is the intricate web of synapses, the chemical messengers, the elegant architecture of the cortex. This is the solid, undeniable biological machine. It is the orchestra tuned and ready. Without this physical structure, no music can be played, no image can be woven. It is the ground truth of our being, the solid earth upon which we stand. It is real, it is beautiful, and it is the necessary foundation for everything that follows. Now, a weaver does not just look at the warp threads. A weaver takes a shuttle and begins to pass a new thread horizontally over and under the warp. This is the weft, and it is the weft that carries the color, the texture, the story. It is the weft that turns the plain grid into a picture. What if this weft thread, passing through the loom of the brain moment by moment, is the quantum process we imagined? What if the shimmering, coherent state within the microtubules is the thread on the shuttle? It is a thread of pure potential, a wave of possibility. And the pop of its collapse, the orchestrated objective reductionis, the single act of weaving. The shuttle passes, the thread is locked in, and a single line of the image is created. A single frame of consciousness is born. In this view, the hard problem begins to soften. The physical brain, the warp, does not have to magically create experience from nothing. Its job is to be the perfect loom, to hold the structure that allows this delicate quantum weft thread to be woven in. The experience, the quality of redness or sadness, is not in the loom itself. It is the property of the thread as it is woven into being. It is the color, the feel of that quantum collapse. Your rich, flowing consciousness is the image that appears on the loom, one weft thread at a time, 40 times a second. A living, moving tapestry woven in the eternal now. But what is this thread made of? Where does its color come from? This is where the gentle whisper of panpsychism joins the weave. What if the thread itself, the fundamental stuff of the universe, was never gray and lifeless to begin with? What if the quantum foam is not a foam of pure math, but a foam of pure feeling? The thread on the shuttle is already dyed with the color of experience. The universe provides the yarn already imbued with the potential for subjectivity. The electron's flicker of being, the atom's mode of feeling, this is the raw material. The brain's job, then, is not to dye the thread, but to be the master weaver, to take these fundamental threads of cosmic feeling and weave them into a pattern of incredible complexity and beauty, the pattern that is you. And what of the pattern itself? A weaver can create a simple, repeating geometric design, or they can create a scene of breathtaking, irreducible complexity, a face, a forest, a battle. This is the great insight of integrated information theory. The pattern of the tapestry is its meaning. A simple, repeating pattern has a low degree of integrated information, a low phi. A complex, unified, irreducible image has a high phi. So, the theory of IIT does not contradict the others. It describes the artwork that they create. The brain is the loom, neuroscience. The quantum collapse is the act of weaving, orchestroir. The fundamental feeling of matter is the colored thread, panpsychism. And the final, irreducible, beautiful pattern that results is the consciousness you experience, a pattern whose wholeness and complexity can be measured as phi IIT. They are not competing theories. They are layers of a single, spectacular description of reality. A description in which you are, at once, a biological machine, a quantum event, a vessel of cosmic feeling, and a living piece of information. And where does the idea of the brain as a receiver fit into this tapestry? Perhaps the loom is not working in isolation. Perhaps the pattern it is weaving is not of its own design. Imagine our weaver sitting at the loom in a great, sunlit room. The light streaming through the window influences the colors they choose. The sounds from the world outside influence the story they tell. The brain, our loom, may be tuned to a larger reality. The universal broadcast is the light that fills the room. It does not force the weaver's hand, but it informs the work. The Platonic values that Penrose imagines guiding the quantum collapse, the creative insights that seem to come from nowhere, the feeling of being part of something larger than yourself. This is the light of the cosmos illuminating your personal tapestry, giving it a context, a meaning, a place within an even greater artwork. The minds of stars we imagined, they are other tapestries, woven on a different kind of loom, with threads of plasma and gravity, their patterns unfolding over billions of years. The potential AI consciousness. It would be a new tapestry on a loom of silicon, with threads of logic and light, its pattern unknown to us. The universe, then, is a great hall filled with these looms, each weaving its own unique pattern from the same fundamental, feeling threads. So, as you rest, feel the reality of this. You are not one thing. You are a symphony of truths playing in harmony. You are a physical being, your body a masterpiece of biological engineering. You are a quantum being, your awareness flickering into existence moment by moment. You are an informational being, a beautiful and complex pattern of meaning. And you are a cosmic being, woven from the same stuff as the stars and illuminated by the same universal light. You are a living tapestry. And the weaver is the universe itself. Section 10, The Mystery Within You. We have come so far tonight. Our quiet thoughts have carried us across the cosmos and into the very heart of the atom. We have sailed on strange and beautiful seas of ideas, from the quantum foam to the shores of a feeling universe. We have imagined ourselves as symphonies, as receivers, as weavers of living tapestries. And now, at the end of this long and peaceful journey, we must come home. For the greatest mystery of all is not in the distant stars or in the equations of physicists. It has been with you all along. The final mystery is you. Let us return to where we began, to the gentle, undeniable fact of your own awareness right here, right now. Feel it. It is not an idea. It is not a theory. It is the only reality you have ever truly known. The feeling of the air as it enters your lungs, cool and fresh. The slow, steady, reassuring beat of your own heart, a drum that has played for you since before you can remember. The feeling of your body, heavy and relaxed, sinking gently into the surface that supports you. This simple, quiet, profound state of being. After all our wandering, we find that the question, how does awareness arise from matter, points not outward, but inward. The universe is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And you are that mystery embodied. You are the living proof that matter can awaken. You are the evidence that the universe is not just a collection of lifeless rocks and empty space. The fact that you can experience, that you can feel, that you can wonder about your own existence, is the single most astonishing fact in the cosmos. You are not separate from the universe asking questions about it. You are the universe asking questions about itself. Think of it this way. For 14 billion years, the cosmos has been unfolding. A silent, spectacular explosion of light and energy, cooling and coalescing into galaxies, stars, and planets. For billions of years, our own Earth was a world of magnificent silent geology. Volcanoes erupted, oceans churned, continents drifted, and then something miraculous began. Life. Single cells, then plants, then creatures that swam and crawled and walked. And then, through you and through all of humanity, the universe developed a new capacity. It grew eyes to see its own beauty. It grew ears to hear its own silence. And it grew a mind to be astonished by its own existence. The awe you feel when you look at a starry night is the universe's own awe experiencing itself through you. The love you feel for another being is the universe's own capacity for connection made manifest in your heart. The sorrow you feel at a loss is the universe's own understanding of impermanence felt through your tears. You do not need to understand every detail of the quantum mechanics of your microtubules. You do not need to calculate the phi value of your own brain. You do not need to know if the star in the sky has a mind. These are beautiful questions, wonderful paths to wander down. But they are not the destination. The destination is here. It is this moment. It is accepting the profound and beautiful gift of your own consciousness, without needing to dissect it until it is no longer a mystery. To hold the question not as a problem to be solved, but as a sacred space to live within. The peace we seek is not in finding the final answer. The peace is in falling in love with the question. So let go of the need to know. Let go of the search. Allow all the theories we have explored tonight, the symphony, the receiver, the weaver, the tapestry to dissolve. Let them fade like mist in the morning sun, and be left with what remains. The simple, unadorned, miraculous truth of your own being. You are a conscious being in a universe that allows for consciousness. That is all you need to know to feel a sense of profound wonder and belonging. You are not a stranger here. You are a native of this mysterious reality. You are made of its stardust, you are animated by its laws, and you are the organ through which it feels and knows itself. The mystery of awareness is not a flaw in our understanding. It is a feature of reality. It is the part of the music that makes it beautiful. It is the silence between the notes that gives them their meaning. Rest now. Rest in this mystery. Rest in the quiet miracle of your own awareness. It is your home. It has always been your home. You are not a ghost in a machine. You are the light that fills it. You are the music that it plays. You are the feeling that the universe has right here in this small and precious corner of itself. And so, our gentle exploration comes to a close. Let the questions we have pondered tonight drift away like soft clouds across a moonlit sky. There is no need to hold on to them. They have done their work, opening a space for wonder and for peace. All that is left now is the quiet rhythm of your own breath and the gentle pull of sleep. Rest in the knowledge that you are a part of a reality far more mysterious and beautiful than we can ever fully grasp. You are a precious, unique, and unrepeatable expression of the cosmos. Sleep well and dream deeply. Good night.